Yo, welcome back everybody to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to set up React Router with React Bootstrap. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a React app. So I'm going to do npx create React app, and I'll call it React Bootstrap tutorials. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is install our dependencies that we need for React Router DOM and React Bootstrap. So I'll do npm install React Router DOM, React-Bootstrap, and we also need to install Bootstrap for the CSS. Perfect. Alright, so just to save some time, I've created my own individual routes so we can route to some areas, and I've also created a Navbar file. So I've created a components folder within my source folder, and inside of there I've created 4 files. The first one is just a home page. Whenever you go to slash, that's where it's going to redirect you, it's the home page. After that is the image component page. After that is the navbar page. This is where we're going to create our React Bootstrap navbar. And finally we have our spinner component page right here. So now let's go ahead and set up React Router DOM and connect our pages and set up our navbar. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the whole infrastructure for routing, and we're going to treat our app.js file as our main hub that's going to contain all of our routes and our navbar. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're just going to go ahead and clear out all this information so we don't need any of it. And I'm going to put a simple div. And inside of this div, I'm going to put something called a router provider. Now this is new. This has been released in version 6.62, if I'm not mistaken. And inside of here, it takes a parameter called router, which we're going to create right now. And the way that this works is you can think of this in previous versions as your browser router. So in previous versions you would use browser router, and then you would use routes to associate each thing to their routes. Now we have route provider, and then inside of there we're going to provide something called, so we're going to create a variable called router is equal to create browser router, and this is going to be an array of objects. And the way that this works is that, let's say you didn't have a navbar, what you would do is you would just create an object, and inside of there you would give it a path, and then you give it the path that you want. So for home page it would just be slash, and then you have to give it the element, and we have a component, so let's do home like so. But we do have a little bit of an issue. We do have a navbar that we want to render every single time, no matter what. And the way that would look is that we would actually have to do element, and inside of here is where we would render our navbar, like so. Oops, navbar component. And then we have to give it its individual children. So then we do children, and then inside of the children array, we would add all the individual paths. So we have one path here, then we would have another one for our image component, and then our spinner component, and so on and so forth. And so now all we have to do is just apply the paths and the elements. So our home is done. Then we'll do spinner component, and we're going to associate that to the spinner component element. And then finally we're going to do image component, and we'll associate that to our image component. Perfect. And so now we can see that it's actually working, sort of. We see when we go in the slash route that we see our navbar component page. However, we want to see home at slash, and there's a perfectly good reason for this, and I'm going to show you guys how to make that work right now. So we actually have to go into our navbar.js file, and what I'm going to do is I open up the documentation for React Bootstrap, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy the regular navbar that they have available, and just paste that bad boy in, like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy all the imports and paste it at the very top of the file, like so. Perfect. Save it. Shouldn't have any errors. Alright, awesome. And now what we want to do is, we should see our home page right now. And the way that we would make that work is there's a component called outlet that we're going to render at the very bottom of our navbar. So with these empty braces right here, right above the end, we're going to do outlet from React Router DOM, save it, and now we're going to see our home page. And if we were to go into our, let's say, spinner component, we'll see our spinner page. And if we go to our image component, we'll see our image component. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and plug and play our links, so then these actually go places, because right now they're not going anywhere. And there's a small configuration that I forgot to add in the beginning. We need to add some CSS for Bootstrap to work. So what we're going to do is just import Bootstrap, dist CSS, and import the CSS from Bootstrap. And so now if we save it, then we'll see our individual navbars working. So now I'm going to go back into my navbar.js component, and we're going to keep the dark one since I like that the most. And we'll get rid of the other two. And the way that we're going to make these actually link to places is we're going to use the link that's provided to us through React Router DOM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the hrefs, and we're going to leave nav.link as is, and inside of there we're going to encapsulate something called link, and we're going to import that from React Router DOM, and we'll just put in the text within it, so like so. And let's go ahead and get rid of these, and I'll just go ahead and copy this twice. Let me clean this up a little bit. Format document, there we go. And let's call this spinner component, and let's call this image component. And so now all we need to do is just give this a property of 2, and we want it to go to let's take it to slash, and we want the next one, we want this to go to, let's go to slash spinner component, and then finally for this one we're going to do 2 is equal to slash image component. Perfect. And so now if I click on let's say spinner component, it takes us there, home takes us there, and it works perfectly fine. So now we've incorporated the newest React Router v6 into a navbar and made it all work. Awesome, so that concludes this tutorial. If it helps you out, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any future recommendations for future videos, be sure to leave them in the description down below. I always check them and I always respond to every comment. And if you did enjoy this, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.